This is the injury report presented by NYU Langone Health. Giants wide receiver Malik Nabers is months removed from surgery on his torn ACL meniscus in his right knee that we saw him suffer in week 4. So in today's injury report, we're talking with Dr. Daniel J. Kaplan, Sports Orthopedic Surgeon at NYU Langone, because fans want to know if Malik is going to be full go week 1 or if he's going to start the 2026 season on PUP list. Doc, we got the good news that John Harbaugh is now the head coach, but we're wondering if Malik is going to be available for him. I'll set this up. We all remember seeing that ugly injury week 4 against the Charger. That exact date was September 28th, and then he had surgery on October 28th, a month later. 68 days after the surgery, he was seen walking with a crutch. He says he doesn't need the crutch. He's just taking precautions. So what are these precautions, and where is he, I guess, in the healing and rehab process?
Yeah, so the one thing that's key for him is he didn't just have the ACL tear, he also had the meniscus tear. So when you just have an ACL tear, one advantage of that is most of us let our patients walk starting day 1 after that surgery. When you have the meniscus tear, that tissue is not nearly as strong or robust. So you really need to give that time and baby it a little bit to heal. So that means crutches for usually about 6 weeks, full stop. After that, you're allowed to put more and more pressure on it, but it is a gradual process. So for him still being on one crutch at 3 months, I don't think that's crazy. I think that he probably is just being cautious because he really doesn't want to have a re-tear of that softer meniscal tissue. In terms of where he is for his recovery, he's probably right on track. I mean, he's got an incredible medical staff. His doctors are great. His trainers are great. Whether or not he can reach week 1 is probably going to depend not so much on this early phase, but so more on like the second, third of his recovery in terms of his strength and balance.
So let's talk about that second and third stage of the rehab. What does that entail? Like, how soon will he be out there running and even cutting?
So 3 months is technically when you're allowed to start jogging. Now, I always tell my patients the same thing. Just because you're allowed to do something does not mean you're able to. There's a big difference between those two things. So at 3 months, technically that tissue is healed enough where it might be safe. But if he doesn't feel like he has the coordination or strength back, maybe he pushes that back a little bit from 3 to 3.5 or 4. Cutting, we usually say, is around 6 months, plus or minus. But again, it depends how fast he recovered from that last phase. Usually around between 6 and 8 months is when you're cutting and doing sports specific drills, and then full go between 8 and 10 months, depending upon his recovery at that stage.
Doc, when we talked ACL injuries back in the day, it was like a death sentence for your career. But now we've seen receivers like Stephon Diggs. He tore his last season. He's over 1,000 yards this year. But when OBJ tore his, he lost a lot of that explosiveness and that athleticism that made him so dangerous. So what factors into how each athlete comes back from this injury, specifically wide receivers?
Yeah. So I think Adrian Peterson was one of the earlier ones that showed us what was possible after an ACL. I think I remember he came back after some incredibly small amount of time and had a fantastic season, which I think opened our eyes a little bit that maybe we didn't have to be so pessimistic after some of these. In terms of what differentiates a wide receiver coming back earlier or better versus maybe not quite as explosive, there's a lot of different things. At first, OBJ was a bit older. You're showing his Rams picture, so that was even more at the tail end of his career. I think that makes a big, big difference. Two, it's other injuries. So, like we mentioned for Malik, he's got the ACL. He's also got the meniscus. That's just a little bit bigger of an injury or a bigger insult to the knee. Versus if you have a pure isolated ACL tear, that's a lot easier to rehab from and a lot quicker to come back from. So I would say it's a combination of patient age or patient specific factors like their other sort of muscle tone, their type of play, if they're more about pivoting versus just straight ahead running, and then other injuries at the time.
So I'm sure you treat patients with torn ACLs at NYU Langone all the time. So let's say your patient isn't an athlete at all. His name isn't Malik Nabers or OBJ or Adrian Peterson. Is Adrian Patterson, just your everyday person. What's their rehab and their recovery process like? Like, how would that differ from Adrian Patterson and Adrian Peterson?
Adrian. Love that twist there. Nice. So Adrian Patterson, they're going to get the same overall timeline. So a lot of our timelines for ACL reconstruction, which we're still researching a little bit, is based on time. So there takes a certain amount of time for the new graft, so the new ACL we give someone, to what's called incorporate or ligamenticize. So that means some of it is just based on time. That's why that 8 to 10 month mark exists, because research studies have shown it takes about that long for that to become sort of a normal ligament. But that's only one side of the coin. The other side is functional. So as much as we need to rely on timelines and biology, we also want to treat each patient individually and make sure we're doing the right thing at each time point. So usually at 3 months, like I said, you're allowed to start jogging. At 6 months, you're allowed to start pivoting. At nine, call it 8 to 9 months, you're allowed to start going back to sports. But everyone's different and everyone needs different things. So if you haven't, gotten your quad strength back, which is a big holdup, or you don't have all your motion, then maybe you have to go a little bit slower. Or maybe if you're killing it on every front, you can go a little bit faster and push it to like early 8 months going back. So yes, there are generalities and there are broad strokes for what we want our patients to be doing. But at the same time, me, like everyone else I know, at least at NYU, would really give it a patient specific approach for everyone.
Real quick, Doc, I've seen guys tear their ACLs and come back, and that knee is stronger than the one that wasn't torn. Why is that?
Because they must have had an incredible surgeon.
All right.
No,
He must have been
I would
referred
say
to NYU Langone Health. There we go.
I would say realistically, it's not that it's not that the ACL that we gave them is stronger. It's probably just that they spent such a good time, and it's probably more up to them and their physical trainers who get all the credit for helping them get back from that injury.
All right. Awesome. Both Adrian Peterson and Patterson, thank you for the information, Doc. Appreciate you.
You got it. Thanks for having me.